Hello, everybody. How the devil are you? Thank you very, very much for joining me. My name is Jim Hughes, and I am the Untamed Entrepreneur. You're joining me here today because I want to help you learn how to gain clarity, energy, and purpose in your business and life without changing who you are or committing to any more expensive qualifications. So, who am I? What do I do? I'm an international speaker. I am an event host. But above all else, I am a personal and business coach. Over the last couple of years, I have mentored or coached seven-figure business owners, double Olympic athletes, military leaders, you name it. I have coached them in all different countries all over the world. Someone like this guy, for example, Colonel Rob Campbell over in the States. I worked with him for a number of years now, on and off. Left the military, wasn't sure what to do, a bit lost, lacking clarity and focus. So we worked together to refine who he is. And since then, he's written a book, he started his own coaching practice, and he's spoken all over the US. Lindsay Soprani from Soprani Consulting hired me last year to speak at her annual company retreat. Spoke to about 10 or 12 of them. We went through all of their profile tests about what puts them in flow, their identity, who they are, what they're inspired by, and really got some unity and some clarity around her team. So what do I do? Well, I am a nomad, which means I get to do something a bit like that, which is live anywhere and work anywhere in the world. I also get to do a bit of that, and plenty of that, and some of that. But more importantly than anything else, ladies and gentlemen, is my mission, and that is to help people align themselves with who they truly are and what inspires them so they can lead happier, more fulfilled lives. So I don't know what role you're in, what job, what business you're in, but can you imagine waking up every day with excitement and energy, knowing you're living your life to your full potential and you're making a difference in the world? Imagine being so inspired by what you do that the lines between work and play become blurred. Well, if that sounds good to you, then please pay attention for the next 10 minutes or so, because I'm going to tell you how I went from being a demotivated and unfulfilled business leader, sacrificing who I was, to a purposeful entrepreneur, making more money and doing what I absolutely love. I'm going to set the record straight, I'm going to debunk some myths, and hopefully I'm going to empower you to do the same. In order to do that, I'm going to shatter 3 misperceptions that prevent people from pursuing a life of purpose. Number 1, you cannot make money doing what you love. Number 2, you have to be an A-grade student up to your eyeballs in qualifications. And number 3, that you have to commit to everything right now. So what did my Untamed journey look like? Well, like I mentioned, I used to be a demotivated and unfulfilled employee running an engineering business in Australia. We're turning over about 4 million a year, and I should have been happy with where I was, but something just wasn't right. All I wanted to do was travel, see the world. I wanted to have the flexibility and the freedom, but also to make a lot of money. I wanted to live the life of my own dreams, but I felt like I was helping somebody else achieve theirs. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that one. But most of all, I wanted to be happy. I wanted my natural personality to be celebrated, not muted. I'm a naturally energetic and bubbly kind of person, and the role I was in and the environment I was surrounded by was forcing me to change who I was. Ultimately, I was tied to an office. I had to pretend to be somebody else. I wasn't passionate about the service we offered, the people I served, or the industry I worked in. I was sleeping in longer, I was leaving earlier, and I was caring less in between. And above all else, my energy and positivity had gone. I had truly begun to forget who I really was. However, thankfully, one morning, as I was lying in bed, my partner at the time left for work, and the reality set. Normally I'd been in the office for a couple of hours by the time that she was getting out of bed, but the roles had been reversed, and I'd become lazy and apathetic, and I was snoozing about 4 or 5 times a morning, something I never thought I would say. So I took that opportunity. I said, right, enough is enough, and I decided to learn everything there was to know about me, and I wanted to redesign my life and my business around who I truly was. So what did I do? Well, I started immersing myself into every training program, course, book, qualification, online course, offline course, you name it. I jumped into it. However, as you can imagine, all these things consumed so much of my time and money to the tune of $25,000 and 1,300 hours. And to put that into perspective, that's more time and money than I spent on my degree. But what did I end up with? Well, I ended up figuring out who I truly was. I ended up figuring out what inspired me and what I'm best at. But crucially, I designed an epic business I could get started on right away that would leverage all of these things without having to change myself. I learned that I had everything I needed. I hadn't changed who I was, I had found who I was. So, how can I help you do the same? Well, firstly, let's shatter misperception number one, the first thing that's going to be stopping most of you out there from doing this and following on this path. And that is that you can't make money doing what you love. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you absolutely can. Myself and millions of other people out there are living proof that that is complete bullshit. And I can guarantee the only people who tell you that you can't are the people who have never, ever tried. I was surrounded by those people myself in my industry when I told people what I was going to do. Mostly the people who'd never done it before and had been chained to their desk or their careers or were unhappy in their business thought that it was not possible because that was their reality and they were imposing that on me. So first things first, change your environment and change your reality. I started to hang around with people who had done it, who lived and breathed it, and that changed my energy levels and it made me realize that it was actually possible. What about misperception number two? That you are not good enough. Trust me, I went through this discussion with myself so many times. I'd never been an A grade student. I'd always been a B grade student or C, depending on what the topic was. I'd never been top of the class. I had a degree that didn't really mean a huge amount. And I'd never really gained that many qualifications. I'd only had a serious career at the age of 26 the first time. I jumped around from job to job prior to that. I'd been having a great time, but I hadn't become an expert in anything. So I kept telling myself that, well, how on earth can I charge anybody for doing anything when I haven't really learned anything in depth myself? I also told myself that it was something that only other people do and that I didn't really deserve it. But like I just said in the first, a couple of slides ago, it's not about changing who you are. It's about finding who you are. And really, really, really important is to look inwards and actually realize that everything you have, you need. And everything you need, you already have. When I started going on this journey, I thought I needed to invest in qualifications. I thought, well, if I'm going to run my business, I need to know how my accounts work at least. I should probably learn more finance because I didn't like details. I should probably learn how to finish tasks because I only like starting them. And I'd rather talk about a job than actually execute on that job. So these conversations went through my head so many times, but ultimately what I needed to do was double down on my gifts and leverage and outsource my weaknesses. Because if you spend time strengthening your weaknesses, you're only ever going to be average, and there's always somebody out there who's in flow doing that thing, who's better at it than you are. So find out what it is that you love to do, double down on it, and then mitigate the rest of it. And what about misperception number three? That you need to commit 100% right now. That is complete bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. The amount of times I've had with potential clients and clients who put themselves under so much pressure because they think they have to jump with a parachute unopened and they just hope the parachute's going to open up on the way down. And that may have been the way I do it, but I can guarantee you that isn't the way that everybody should do it. And the people I work with who have the most success are the people who choose the path that aligns with them the most. So when some people I know who've jumped off one train and onto another one that's not moving, they've been under too much pressure financially, too much pressure personally, and from their family and their spouse to get something going, to start making money straight away, because that's what society expects of you. But ultimately, that's not the case. There's nothing wrong or uncool about moonlighting, about starting your business on the side whilst you've got your money coming in. Yes, you may not love what you're doing in the day-to-day, but you've got to realize the fortunate position you're in, that you have no pressure on that front. I mean, look, even Superman had a day job. So choose the path that works for you and follow suit. So just to recap, I want to remind you that number one, you can have your cake and eat it too. Number two, it's about finding yourself, not about changing yourself. And number three, even Superman had a day job. So many studies all over the world have pointed to the fact that the biggest regrets of the dying are the things that those people didn't do, not the things they did do. And I say this when I'm speaking, I say this to my clients, whenever people are questioning whether they should change. my question is always the same. What is greater, the cost of trying something or the cost of going to your grave knowing you never gave it your best shot? So, what's next? Well, this is the time when I tell you this is where you should start your journey. I'm so grateful I made the leap. I'm so grateful I immersed. I spent the time and money doing what I wanted to do to figure out who I was and what inspires me. And I'm imploring you to do the same, to at least ask yourself that question. Now, I spent 2 years and $25,000 on my education, but I've designed my one-on-one coaching program to be a damn sight quicker, a lot cheaper, and a load more fun and less lonely. Ultimately, I used so many resources that ended up being pretty crap and inefficient. And if I had to do it all again, well, I would do it very differently. And that's the path that I want to take you guys down. So as a coach, I'm coming at it from complete understanding of the position you're in and where you want to go. And together we will immerse ourselves into this. I will dive deep into who you are, what inspires you, your belief systems. I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to provide support. But crucially, we are all different. Above all else, I know that we are all nuanced. We all have different needs. We all have different values. We all have different motives. So this is not a prescriptive program. It can't be. There's too many different types of people out there. This is about providing you the tools and resources and asking you the questions so you can figure this information out yourself and start applying this in your own life. Together, we will go through my 5 steps. And those 5 steps are, number 1, figuring out your identity. Like I said, what is it? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What gets you energized and in a state of flow? What are you best at? What is your belief system? What are your foundational values? What are the rules around those values? Step 2 is understanding your why or your mission. Understanding and figuring out what your overarching purpose or objective in your life is and making sure that you are inspired and compelled towards that rather than trying to motivate your something towards an extrinsic goal. Number 3, we're going to find out who your perfect customer is. We're going to find out who you're inspired to serve. And when you're inspired to serve somebody who you can relate to and resonate with on a really deep level, you're going to have so much more willingness and energy and determination to provide as much value to those people as you can. And as they say in business, when you add value, that's when you start profiting. The 4th step, we're going to figure out what your business vehicle looks like. So how can it be designed around you? How can it be designed around your strengths, your mission, your perfect customer, and most importantly, the lifestyle you want to lead? And 5th and final step is how. How does this business work? How can we make it as simple and as basic and as efficient and effective as possible so you can spend more time doing what you love and being an owner of a business rather than an operator of a business? Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, we want to create a perfect business, not a perfect job. So here is a couple more testimonials from people I've had the absolute pleasure of working with and for. And this is Erica Quigley. She was a remarkable client, had a great time working with her. Last year, I still keep in regular contact with her. And in a ridiculously short space of time, she changed from being a fed up, demotivated business leader to an entrepreneur. She was happier at home. She had more energy. She had more freedom. And crucially, she knew exactly who she was. And she'd replaced her income. And Stoic Conditioning, one of the larger veteran military businesses in the UK. Really inspiring guys providing personal training services to people in the military or aspiring military guys, and really great company. For them, there was a team of 3 of them at the time, and it was about uncovering who they truly were and where they should sit in the business, and more importantly, what inspired them. So what was the why behind everything they did, and how could we leverage that in order to get as much momentum and inspiration into their work as possible? And Heidi Bradley, I had a really quick call with her last year, and I didn't actually need to work with her in the end. It was just a discovery call, and she got everything she needed in that 30 minutes. Sometimes it takes a couple of months. Sometimes it takes a couple of calls. Sometimes, in Heidi's case, it takes 30 minutes. There were some things that she was telling me, but there was an underlying symptom at play. She was telling me the cause, but ultimately we dug out what the symptom was and made a few really key changes, and then off she went. So book your strategy session now. As you can see with Heidi, sometimes it really doesn't take long. I would absolutely love to spend some time uncovering who you are, how you can regain that energy and that time and that clarity in your business so you can be a lot happier, a lot more fulfilled. That's me, that's my story, and that's the value that I can offer to you. I am really, really inspired by what I do, ladies and gentlemen. So feel free, I invite you to book your free strategy call now. As you can see with Heidi, it can only take 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But if you want to reclaim your energy, reclaim your time, and reclaim yourself, and design an epic life and business around who you are, then book your strategy call now, and I cannot wait to talk to you.